Hi, I'm Cram, and today we're taking a look at the city sample as part of the Unreal Engine 5 that released not so long ago. Now, you might have seen this released on the PlayStation 5 and as part of the Matrix showcase they did using Unreal Engine 5. Well, it's now come to PC. I've been dying to sort of play this or experience it with my RTX 3090. I haven't worked out how to change things like resolution or any of the settings, but I'm just going to leave it at its default for the time being. So basically this is a demonstration showcasing Unreal Engine 5 at its finest, and you've got this kind of cityscape environment to walk around and experience. You can jump into cars. I think you're familiar with it from the PlayStation 5 version. So what's interesting about this is the ray traced effects. You've got full ray traced shadows and reflections, which is why you might see that my RTX 3090 is chugging a bit, 30 frames per second, but also because I'm recording as well to make this video. And also you'll notice the RAM, 28, almost 29 gigabytes of RAM usage at the moment. There's no VSync, and the streaming of assets, you will see some stuttering as it loads those. But as you probably would have heard from other people, this is a fantastic looking demo, and it really does sort of highlight what a next gen, should I say, or current gen even, cityscape game could look like. Something like GTA 6 or a new Watch Dogs game. I mean, it'd be interesting to compare them to each other. Watch Dog, not Legion, but the one that was set in San Francisco, Watch Dogs 2, has a very similar looking sort of environment. So what are you going to notice about this? Now let's just come and look at some of the more in-depth features. You've got these real-time reflections, as you can see in this glass here. You can see the cars moving around. You've got these puddles as well. And what I'm also liking as well is the fact that you can look inside these buildings. You've got this sort of it's not necessarily a 3D model inside. It kind of looks 3D. There's a bit of 3D stuff in there, but it might just be an illusion. But it just means that you can look inside the building. So if I go into the fly mode or drone, you can sort of get a closer look inside some of these buildings, which just adds, I mean, it's not a new thing. This has been used quite extensively in games in the past. Even in Watch Dogs 1, I think they used it. But look, if you look here, this table kind of gets a bit blurry as you get closer, but you kind of, from a distance, you can really make out that that's a 3D table. Look, you can look into every room, beds in there, chairs. You know, in every single room there's something going on, which is just adds to the sort of believability. Obviously there's no people inside there, but I think that's something they could probably add in terms of making a silhouette of a person. And look, this store here, you can see on the shelves, you know, I mean, that's not really meant to be the focus. It's the actual, just the full living, breathing city. So look here, you've got the freeway overhead, all these parked vehicles, and that's a lot of props. And the Unreal Engine 5 is allowing you to have all these props without sort of compromising the load or the frame rate. So if you just move over to these sort of office buildings here, and again you can see the sort of interior of every single room, which is fantastic in terms of creating a living, breathing environment. I mean, that one's a different apartment there. You know, they're not all the same. Obviously, you're going to get some duplicates. But yeah, it's just fantastic being able to look inside, and it just really adds to the immersion factor that you know there's people living here. And you know, it's fantastic. So as we're moving up now, higher. I mean, you might have seen some mods for this already. Someone did a Spider-Man mod, someone did Superman, just to showcase how this would be if you was to have a game using this sort of city environment, which is quite feasible. So let's go up, let's just rise up. So I'm not sure what resolution this is running at. I don't think it's 4K. Looking at my overlay, I did have a problem when I first booted this up. The game doesn't boot up if you've got MSI Afterburner running. That's one thing. So if you're having trouble booting up this demo, and here you can see it sort of chugging as it loads. If you're having trouble booting up the demo, then turn off your overlays. That's and River Tuner as well. That's what was affecting it. So you might see a bit of screen tearing here, but if we just leave the static here and just pan around slowly, you know, it's just a fantastic environment to move around, and just moves very smoothly, and with the amount of stuff that's here, the amount of detail as well. So what you can do now to just give a different flex on the decks, different flex on the visual output. I mean, let's just quickly look at this architecture of this particular building here. It's just fantastic shape, fantastic detailing, and if you move up close to it, you just look at the texture detail. Look, really nice texture detail. I mean, it's all very clean looking for a city that might be covered in the soot and stuff, and the fumes from all the cars. But I think I did a bit of research. I think the Matrix City is based on various sort of New York cities, but it's never sort of named as a particular city in America. It's just a place where Neo resides. But as you know, it's an illusion. So it's just a mega city. So going back, sort of digressing a bit there. So if we get into a nice position here, this is just a fantastic view here. And we go to the options, there's your map of the area, there's your controls. So we can now switch it over to night mode, which is just really brings the city alive. I personally don't think it looks as realistic. You can kind of tell a bit more now that it's kind of a bit blocky looking, but the effect is really nice, and it just looks really fantastic. I mean, the stuttering, you know, that's just my system as it's streaming these assets, and if you look at the top left, it's telling you what it's actually doing. So let's just go back down to ground level again, and you can then see the detail. I think I can do that, quickly do that. So now we're on the streets, and what you also got to remember as well is that if we go and look at some of these NPCs, if you remember the MetaHuman demo that I did, they're using these MetaHumans as well, so you're looking at very highly detailed character models as well that are very realistic looking. Oh look, she actually crossed the road. I mean, the clothing looks a bit basic, could be better, but if you look at the actual faces, let's see if we can find somebody that is standing there and not sort of walking around. But if we look at the faces, they're very realistic looking as well. She's sort of, I mean, a bit expressionless, but the detailing is there. And obviously with the MetaHuman, they can create any kind of realistic looking human characters, real or otherwise, which is kind of fantastic. And then if you look in this mirror here, or reflection, you should be able to see my character. It's all sort of ray traced, I believe. If it's not, then I apologize, but it's real-time reflections, as you can see there, which is fantastic. Yeah, it would be nice to run this in 60 frames per second, but I'm not sure how I can lower the resolution. There's probably a way to do it. I'm sure somebody will correct me. So now, if you look at this car, let's see if I can just pull up there. We've got the real-time reflections on the vehicle surface. You can see the headlights of this car reflected on the side of the car, which is nice. I think the lighting for the car headlights could be a bit better. If you move out the way. Yeah. Whoops. I mean, the sheer number of vehicles on the road is fantastic. So let's just have a little drive. It's pretty good. And then there's also crash physics as well. I mean, you can't kill people. You can run right through them. Oh, he's got stuck in the mud. So this is a good little place here for lighting. Let's get out the vehicle. So again, if you look at the surface of the vehicle, look, the traffic light red, sorry, the green traffic light reflecting. You know, all this is happening in real time. This is all pretty decent. Obviously, I'm running this on the most optimal hardware. Otherwise, lesser hardware is going to start chugging. I'm not sure what resolution it was running on the PlayStation 5. Obviously, not as high as this, and I don't think that was getting 60 frames per second either. Probably running at 30 FPS. I mean, here the lighting's really nice. Look, again, more of the metahuman faces. Look, you can see that now. So they can just sort of create just loads of different faces that look highly realistic. All this sort of lovely lighting, and you know, I think when people first played this, they think, "Oh, this should be a game," but it's Epic just showcasing what you can do with the Unreal Engine 5 as an improvement. I mean, a lot of that's been showcased, what you can do in terms of details and how it sort of renders those now a lot less expensive on the hardware, so enabling you to sort of do all this. So here we go. Let's go. So if you're familiar with the MetaHuman demo, you'll sort of recognize some of the faces even of the characters. So this is just a really fantastic demo, and it's great to be able to sort of play it. As I said, when I first booted up without MSI Afterburner, it chugged the GPU. I mean, it just sent it into overdrive with no fan profile. And let's just show you some of the crash physics. Nice car as well. So if I just zoom, you smash into this car here, bang, oops, no, into, oops. Right, you can see that's crumpled at the front. That didn't react as I thought it might do. Let's just try and hit another vehicle that's moving. Let's go head-on collision with this car here. Oh, so the front grille has come off, front bumper's removed. I'm not sure what the state of the car that I just bashed into. I think that's gone. There you go, full physics for the cars that are being hit and the car that I'm in. So yeah, pretty nice. Yeah, and people are sort of a bit calm. That's obviously a regular occurrence. Yeah, so you've got all these vehicles, buildings, billboards, and then as I showed you before, you can just sort of fly as a drone, change the speed, and that's where you get that Superman demo. But obviously the streaming, I mean, it's just great, really realistic with all the lighting, and yeah, you're gonna have to bear with that stuttering, so I'll slow it down a bit. And then obviously you can just go up into the air and just get that full view of the city. I mean, it's lovely, it's just fantastic, really impressive stuff. So I assume that this is public release of Unreal Engine. It was only released, what, about a month ago? That's the public release. Developers have obviously had this for quite some time, and they're already sort of developing games using it. So it'll be interesting to see now, once we ditch the old gen hardware, that's PS4, Xbox One, and just focus on PS5 and Xbox Series X and obviously PC. It'll be interesting to see where developers can take this Unreal Engine 5 and what sort of level of detail they'll be able to produce. But obviously everyone is highly anticipating what Rockstar can do with Grand Theft Auto 6. Now I'm not sure, and someone can correct me if they're going to be using their own game engine, which they've used in the past, or whether they will actually use Unreal Engine or a version of it for their next game. Who knows? But the tools are here for developers to create these. And I think what's also another good takeaway is that with Unreal Engine 5, I think it's going to allow sort of smaller studios to offer a higher fidelity product, giving them the tools to sort of make better looking games on a smaller budget, which is really fantastic. So, as you know, I'm a big fan of cyberpunk themes, and Cyberpunk 2077 is a big favourite of mine. And yeah, so I can just imagine now how, with that sort of cyberpunk styling, how something like that would look in Unreal Engine 5. CD Projekt Red announced recently that they were going to switch from their own engine, not sure what it's called, which they've used for Cyberpunk 2077 and the Witcher games in the past, and they're going to now start developing using Unreal Engine 5, which is a big turnaround, especially when you've developed your own in-house engine and used that successfully. So that's a good positive. I think, you know, if more developers use this, they'll squeeze more out of it. And obviously, if there's a sort of element of sharing processes and techniques, that just sort of makes the whole development process a lot easier for people to work with, if there's a collective kind of consensus of how to do things, which is really cool. So I think I've waffled enough. Yeah, I'm just happy that I'm able to sort of play this now after reading up why it wouldn't load before, and it was due to the MSI afterburner, but I'm repeating myself. So yeah, fantastic stuff. Let's just go back to the daytime, because I mean, that's just transition there is really nice. And as you can see, you can move the sun around as well, get you different shadows, which is rather nice. And yeah, it's just such a wonderful looking experience. And yeah, great stuff. Cool in the game. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, interesting to see what the future holds. Okay, I'm Rob Cram. Thanks for watching.